The Kodak Theater in Hollywood will host this year's Academy Awards, and the question on everyone's mind is who will be the big winners and take home Oscar gold. Scott Feinberg is one of the film industry's most trusted analysts. He's back to share his final picks for this year's Academy Awards. Welcome back, Scott.
Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. It's going to be a big night. A lot of people will be watching. This could be the most watched show ever.
Yeah, I mean, well, they hope that it'll do very well because of the fact that they've got two young people hosting it now who are very popular movie stars, James Franco and Anne Hathaway. They also have 10 Best Picture nominees for the second year in a row, which gives more people a rooting interest in terms of tuning in. Many of this year's Best Picture nominees have done well at the box office at or over, in the neighborhood of $100 million
right.
or more. All the big ones that have a real shot at winning: King's Speech, Social Network, Inception, True Grit, Black Swan, and on and on and on. So, people have seen the movies, which is not always the case, and they'll tune in for that reason.
Well, and these movies are just getting rave reviews.
Yeah, it's been a very big year for. In terms of the critical consensus somewhat agreeing with the movie-going public, which, again, doesn't always happen. So it's kind of nice, and it encourages them to continue to make smart, quality movies instead of just remake sequels and adaptations.
That's right. Let's talk about the Best Picture.
Yep.
We have 10 films up for this.
Yes. The two, though, that really have a shot based on everything we know and all of the precursor awards are the King's Speech and the Social Network. And it's been a very interesting evolution of the award season because for the first half or so, the Social Network swept everything. You had all the critics' awards came early, literally had an unprecedented sweep of all the big awards. And then what happened was the guilds, which actually overlap with the Academy, unlike the critics, they came out and suddenly, out of nowhere, the King's Speech started winning everything. And so at this point, the odds makers and I and everyone who really follows this closely would tell you bet on the King's Speech. But there is that remote chance, certainly in the age of Crash upsetting Brokeback, where we know you can't rule out anything. And it seems like the Social Network certainly has its following. Ever since they went to 10 Best Picture nominees, they have a different voting system also, so it's now sort of a preferential ballot. So it's hard to know. It really comes down to which movies the most people love the most. And it's
got to be hard to predict with 10 films up for this award.
In some ways, it's harder to predict the nominees. In this case, it's gut-wrenching to bet against the Social Network because on a personal level, I feel like it's such a great movie. But so is the King's Speech in a different way. It harkens back to the movies that won this award for years and years and years.
So what's your pick here?
I'm going with the King's Speech just in terms of objectively what I think is going to happen. I wouldn't say it's impossible for the Social Network to win, but if you're betting anything on this, go with the King's Speech.
Well, I do like the King's Speech overall as well because of its great ensemble. It just has strong acting all the way around. The writing is amazing, and just the message.
Yeah, everything about it. Everything about it is great, and it's a movie that does leave you feeling good and liking the characters, unlike the Social Network, which leaves you a little bit troubled.
A lot of greed in Social
Network. A lot
of
greed, and yeah, sometimes it's the benefit of a few years after the events help you look back on it a little more fondly, and so maybe I think that Social Network may be one of these movies that 20 years from now people look back and say that was the best picture of the year. But at this time, there's just a lot of love for the King's Speech, and as you say, the actors who are involved with it, which I guess kind of leads us into Best Actor.
Best Actor, and a lot of love for this one, Colin Firth.
A lot of love, and I mean, a lot of people felt that he gave the best performance of last year, also with A Single Man.
I thought so too for A Single Man.
But the way the Oscars work, sometimes you give it to the guy who's due, who hasn't won when he should have, and so last year they gave it to Jeff Bridges, and that was fine. But
no doubt at all that Colin Firth is not going home with this.
This year,
he's definitely going home.
All
with
the pieces came together. If of the acting nominees, if there's one sure thing, it's Colin Firth, because he was so great last year, because he's so great this year, and because he's just a really well-liked guy in the industry, and he's done everything right this year. No sort of faux pas, just really somebody that everybody likes.
All right, let's go into Best Actress. Now, is this the one contention that possibly there's an upset that could happen here or not?
There's more than one where that could happen this year, which is keeping me up a little bit. But
your pick is?
My pick is Natalie Portman for Black Swan, and I think that based on the precursor awards, everything points to that happening. She won the Critics' Choice, the Golden Globe, and the SAG Awards. So all of those, when you win all three, that usually seals the deal. But and her movie's up for Best Picture, as is, though, Annette Bening's.
Yes,
and,
this is the one I'm thinking that could possibly have an upset.
You know what happens is sometimes the Academy, again, as we mentioned, they vote for somebody who maybe should have been recognized in the past, or who they just like and have never had a chance to honor before. And so there is some of that with Annette Bening, but Natalie Portman's performance in Black Swan is such a tour de force. It's just, it dominates the movie, whereas Annette Bening has to share at least half the screen time with Julianne Moore, who wasn't nominated, oddly, but it's not the showcase for Annette Bening that Black Swan is for
Absolutely.
Natalie.
The movie itself, Black Swan, is strong all the way around.
Yeah.
All right, let's go into Best Supporting Actor.
Yeah, I'm going way out on a limb here. I want to preface this by saying the smart bet, the safe bet here is Christian Bale for The Fighter.
Exactly.
He's unbelievable, and I would probably vote for him myself. But one thing to look out for is that if there is this momentum for the King's Speech, this sort of big sweep that a lot of us think might be happening, then it's only natural to think that it's going to carry along some other people on its coattails in the closer races. And if you love the King's Speech, you have to love both of the performances at its center, not just Colin Firth, but Jeffrey Rush, because the whole movie is built around that relationship. And Jeffrey Rush, though he has won before, is somebody that I could very well see winning again. He is going up against that stat, though, of Bale having won the Critics' Choice, the Golden Globe, and the SAG Award, so it's hard to...
But your pick is...
My pick is Rush. And
okay.
It may come back to haunt me, or I'll look very smart, so one way or the other.
All right, well, let's wait and see how that all works out. Okay, Best Supporting Actress, you're going with the favorite.
I'm going with the favorite, Melissa Leo, but, it's a tough call because she is... up against Haley Steinfeld for True Grit, who's 14 years old.
I love this movie. She was fantastic, and the smart words she had to, say in the entire movie. I love the way she just said everything
very
correctly.
Precocious character, and an adorable, very impressive young actress that played the character, and she has the advantage of being the largest role in terms of screen time of anyone in that category, which is often what ends up winning, because she lucked out and she got away with getting into supporting actress instead of lead. And other young actresses, Tatum O'Neal, Anna Paquin, who have done the same, often end up winning. So I would be careful betting against Haley Steinfeld, but I think, again, for coming back to that Critics' Choice, SAG, Golden Globe combo, Melissa Leo has won everything up to this point. So.
Best Director. You changed your mind on this one just recently.
Yeah, because the deal is that, again, like Picture, it comes down to King's Speech, Social Network, and a lot of us were leaning, and some continue to lean, I think the majority lean towards David Fincher for the Social Network, because here's somebody that's been working at a very high level for over, close to 2 decades now, Fight Club, Benjamin Button, a lot of other movies that people really hold in a high regard, and so he's never won before. This would be a chance to give it to him. But very few voters historically have been willing to separate their picture-director votes because they say, what did the best picture direct itself? And so what they end up doing is they vote for the same. And if the King's Speech is so far out in front supposedly for picture, it's hard to justify betting for somebody else for director, especially when the Directors Guild, which has corresponded with Best Picture, with the Best Director Oscar winner 56 out of 61 times, when they went for Tom Hooper for the King's Speech, it's hard to bet against him for the Oscar.
And the Best Picture, I believe, is the last one that is handed out of the evening.
It is.
Then the Best Director is prior to that.
Right.
So if you see Best Director and you see Tom...
If you see Hooper win, that's probably seals the deal.
A good indication that possibly...
Well, I think that really we all assume right now the King's Speech is going to win Best Picture. So the big thing that might get some people shaking in their boots, including me who are betting on the King's Speech, would be if Fincher wins, because then they're either going to, they'll either have split, or that means that the Social Network will pull off this crash-like upset. And so either way, if I have to be wrong, that would be a very exciting outcome. I wouldn't mind being wrong. Plus, everybody else will be wrong.
That's right. All right. It's going to be a big night, and we want to remind everybody Academy Awards is right here on News 8, starting at 8:30. Of course, all the preview shows right before that. So we're going to have a great time. Thanks so much, Scott. It was great to see you.